Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Joseph from Screenbite, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. I kind of wanted to take a look at one of the earliest reviews I've done on this channel and revisit that product with the knowledge of things that I know now from all of the experience that I've gained, and to see if I still feel the same way and what those differences are. And the product in question here is actually going to be the Mionix Castor. Now, in that review, I said that it was one of the best mice I've ever used, and I loved the shape, I loved the feel, I love how I could perform in game. I talked about all the great features of it, and I actually had the opportunity to have Mionix send me out one of their newer casters as well as one of their mats to review, so this is going to be interesting. Now, even though this stuff was sent out to me, I do want to let you know that all opinions are my own. Let's get started. Okay, so let's get something really important out of the way first, and that is that this caster is almost identical to the original caster that I reviewed. It's using the same sensor, the same shape, the same rubberized material. The only difference is going to be the updated colors and the fact that they removed RGB lighting on these colored variants. So starting off with shape. Now, in the original video, I mentioned that I felt like the Mionix Castor had one of the best shapes that I had ever seen on a mouse. It was super comfortable to use, and I could use it for everything. I could use it for gaming, video editing, browsing the internet, everything. And that is still true to this day. However, what I will say now is that this is not a safe shape, and I wouldn't recommend it for everyone. Here's what I mean by this. So the Mionix Castor has specific grooves on the sides to guide your fingers to where they want it to be. And these grooves make the shape not safe. So while it's really good for my hand size for palm gripping and claw gripping, someone with smaller hands or larger hands, their fingers might not fit in these grooves, causing them to be uncomfortable when gripping the mouse. I find that ambidextrous, medium-sized mice tend to be the best shape, at least for me. Because I'm able to grip it however I want, and that's why I feel like I could recommend those to people more than I could recommend a designed mouse like this. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about is mouse weight. Now, the Mionix Castor comes in at 93 grams, 142 grams if you include the mouse and the cable. Now, 93 grams is nothing to scoff at. It's under 100 grams, which I personally will put that in the light mouse market. However, the industry is going in a direction where they're trying to cut out as much weight as possible to make the mouse as light as possible. Ever since the ultralight came out, this has been the industry trend. And a lot of people tend to go towards those mice because they think it's going to perform best for them. That's where I feel like a lot of people are wrong. Like shape, mouse weight is also subjective. The first mouse I ever used was the G502, and that was, I believe, over 120 grams, which is on the extremely heavy side for mice. However, I could perform really well in game with that mouse. So it's really subjective when it comes to weight. Some people will perform better with lighter mice, and some people will perform better with heavier mice. It all depends on what is going to be best for your use case. Now, at this point, it might sound like I'm really knocking this mouse, and I'm really not. It's a fantastic mouse. Let's talk about some of the positives here. One, the materials that are used. It uses a very, very luxurious soft touch rubber here on the shell, and these rubber grips on the side are really nice. Plus, the Teflon feet on the bottom are actually really, really good. I don't know if they're hyperglides. I feel like I would advertise them if they were hyperglides, but they are definitely better than your standard Teflon feet for sure. Like, this mouse just glides across your table. The cable is really, really good. As you can see, there's almost no tension when I'm shaking the mouse around or shaking the cable around. So a lot of these things on this mouse are really, really well done. And also what I really like are the clicks. Let's have a listen. Okay, so next let's talk about performance. And just like in the first video where I reviewed the caster, performance is still great, even to this day. However, it's sad that I even have to say that. This mouse is using the PixArt 3310, which is the same sensor that was in the original caster, which came out like 3 or 4 years ago at this point. Now, Mionix, you really don't have an excuse here. Just put a 3360 in your mouse. Everybody will love you for it, even if the performance isn't that big of a difference. Everyone will love you for it, and it's something that you should just do at this point. However, that knock aside, those who think that this mouse isn't going to perform in today's games because it doesn't have a 3360, that's just not true. The 3310 is still one of the best sensors that you can put in a mouse. The tracking is 1-to-1. There are no ankle snapping or jitters or anything of that nature. The only issue that the 3310, like Rocket Jump Ninja always says, the tilt slam test. But that's it. So if you're performing with this mouse, you shouldn't have a problem. It's going to mostly just be user error. However, Mionix, just put a 3360 in your mice. Now, Mionix also sent me out one of their desk pads in the ice cream color, and I really love this thing. Up until now, I've been using the Zowie GSR, and I really do love that mouse pad, but this one's really nice as well. It's a really good control surface, which is still pretty smooth. The only thing missing is maybe edge stitching, but that's not a huge loss. But the mouse tracks and performs really well on this surface. Also, as a side note, this mouse pad is flipping huge. And there you have it. So I actually learned a lot during this test, and one of the major things that I've learned is a lot of the things that are happening in the gaming peripheral and mouse market are kind of overblown. What I mean by this is a lot of people say that you have to have this specific sensor or this specific brand in order for you to get the best performance possible. And while that is true, you are going to be getting better performance with the newer sensors. Mice have gotten so good now to where if you're using something that's a year or two old, you're really not going to see a whole lot of differences in game physically. It really does boil down to the shape of the mouse and if you're comfortable using that shape. Now, before we close out, one other thing that I did want to touch on is Mionix's kind of shift. So they used to make like straight up gaming peripheral products, RGB, crazy shapes, crazy performance, and that's the way they would advertise it. But their products were so good to where they also could market it to like the professional crowd, so people who do YouTube and things of that nature, and they feel like you can express yourself without having to fit into that gamer mold. And that's why I feel like they're kind of shifting their direction a little bit. If you notice, they're coming out with like wacky colors, food themed things and stuff like that, and no RGB lighting and that kind of stuff, which is the opposite of where the gamer market is going. So I feel like that's how they're trying to differentiate themselves, and I feel like they still focus on performance and they still focus on ergonomics because it is still a very comfortable mouse. But they're trying to separate themselves, and I can kind of commend them for that. Now, while a lot of the new designs aren't exactly for me, except for at work, so because it'll match my pink and blue keyboard, it's something that I do like to see, and I wish that more companies would try this instead of try to cater solely to the pro gaming scene, so to speak. Now, for price, this new Castor does come in at $60. And you do get a good mouse for that price. If you really want a good feeling mouse, as well as something that's very ergonomic that you can use both in-game and for day-to-day tasks, then it's definitely a great mouse. However, keep in mind that it isn't going to have the most up-to-date sensor, and it's not going to be the lightest mouse on the market. But if you can live with those things and you just want something that performs and feels really good in the hand, you can't really go wrong with the Castor. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this video, guys, so thank you once again for watching. As always, if you liked it, make sure to show it by hitting that like button down below. It really helps me out. As well as if you have any questions about what we talked about today, feel free to ask it in the comment section down below or on Twitter at Screenbite. And if you're new to the channel and you like the content, feel free to subscribe. But until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.